All right, let's jump into a deep dive and head over to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Ooh, DRC.
Yes, to explore the Kifuliiru language.
Very cool.
We've got some pretty interesting documents here that actually break down the Kifuliiru counting system.
Okay.
And so beyond just the numbers, we'll also get to meet the person who's working to bring this language and technology together. Yivugwe Kabemba Mukome.
Sounds fascinating. What is it about these documents that you find so intriguing?
Well, they give us a glimpse into how this structure of the language itself works.
Okay, so like a code.
Yeah, like a code, exactly.
Yeah.
So by comparing Kifuliiru to, more familiar languages like English or Swahili or even French, we kind of see how it all fits together.
Right, yeah.
In the bigger picture of these language families and how different cultures think about numbers.
I like it. Like we're linguistic detectives.
Yes, we are. Okay, so we've got these charts in front of us. One covers numbers 10 to 59 and the other 60 to 100.
Okay.
And what immediately jumps out is the repetition of Makuni. So like Makumi Gabiri for 20, Makumi Gashatu for 30, Makumi Gana for 40. Like you get the idea.
Yeah.
So it's clearly like this key building block for how they're constructing larger numbers.
You're absolutely right. And that repetition really points to something super fundamental. So Kifuliiru, like tons of languages actually, it's based on a base 10 system.
Okay.
So just like we use tens as our foundation, Makumi in Kifuliiru represents that group of 10.
Gotcha.
Like you can think of it like building with Legos.
Oh, I like that.
Each Makumi is like a block of 10, and you combine those blocks to make bigger numbers.
That makes total sense.
Right.
So that explains the 20s, 30s, 40s, but then things shift a little bit at 60, right?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Instead of continuing that Makumi pattern, we get Makumi Galandatu, and then slightly different structure for like 61 through 69.
Yeah.
It's like the language takes a breath and changes its approach.
This shift at 60, this is really interesting. It could indicate that Kifuliiru perhaps had like an earlier base 60 system.
Which, we see that in some older African counting systems.
Interesting.
And it would be fascinating to, really dig into historical linguistic research to see if there's any evidence of that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it reflects some cultural significance that the number 60 held.
Oh, okay.
For Kifuliiru speakers. It's a bit of a puzzle.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's a linguistic puzzle. And speaking of puzzles, let's talk about the individual who put these charts together.
Okay. Yeah.
Taivugwe Kabema Mukome.
Okay.
So, from what I understand, he's not just a language enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a technologist who is passionate about bridging that gap between technology and his mother tongue.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. While the documents themselves don't explicitly state his motivations, like what drove him to create this, it's clear that he's not just like documenting Kifuliiru. He's envisioning this future where it thrives, in this digital age.
Yes, exactly. Imagine language learning apps for Kifuliiru, or digital dictionaries, or even voice assistants that understand the language.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. But surely there must be some challenges in bringing a language like this, which hasn't traditionally been a part of the digital world, into this new realm.
Oh, absolutely.
It can't be as simple as, just creating an app, right?
You're totally right. There are significant hurdles.
Yeah.
So for starters, you need like a robust digital infrastructure in the region where the language is spoken.
Yeah.
Then there's the task of developing specialized tools and software that can handle the unique features of Kifuliiru.
Yeah.
And perhaps most importantly, you need to engage the community.
Oh, yeah.
Get people excited about using these new resources.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about building a bridge between tradition and innovation and making sure that the community embraces these new tools.
Precisely, yeah.
I'm really curious to hear more about how he's approaching these challenges. But first, let's delve a bit deeper into the Kifuliiru counting system itself.
Okay.
We were talking about that shift at 60, but there are other fascinating patterns to uncover.
Totally.
And maybe even some clues about the language's history.
Love it.
Stick with us as we continue our deep dive.
Yeah. One thing that really stands out to me is how Kifuliiru uses the word na to combine numbers.
Oh, okay.
It's like the glue that holds the pieces together.
Okay.
So for example, to say 11, you would say ikumina higuma, literally 10 and 1.
Oh, I see. So it functions just like and in English?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Does that hold true for like the entire counting system?
Pretty much, yeah. You'll see na used to connect numbers all the way up to 100.
Wow.
It's a common feature in a lot of languages.
Okay.
And it kind of highlights how we build up these larger numbers from these smaller units.
Makes sense. And speaking of comparing languages, we've got Swahili and French translations alongside the Kifuliiru.
Oh, yeah, right?
On these charts. What can we learn from those comparisons?
Well, if we look at Swahili, we see that it also follows a base 10 structure, just like Kifuliiru in English.
Okay.
And guess what? Swahili also uses na to combine numbers.
Oh, wow. So there's a definite connection there.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if there's like a shared linguistic ancestor somewhere way back in time.
Totally. It's possible.
Yeah.
Languages evolve and change over time, but they often retain like these traces of their history and these shared features. They might be clues how these languages are all related.
That's so cool.
Now, French is a bit different.
Okay.
So while it does have a word for and, which is it's not used in the same way.
Okay, so how does French put its numbers together then?
So French relies more on hyphens and changes in pronunciation.
Okay.
So for example, 21 is 21, but 22 is just 22.
Interesting.
It's a bit more complex and less consistent than this na system that we see in Kifuliiru and Swahili.
It's fascinating how even a seemingly simple concept like counting can reveal so much about the structure and history of a language.
I know, right?
And it really makes you appreciate the work that Ayavugwe is doing to bring Kifuliiru into this digital world, you know?
Absolutely.
But I can't help but wonder, like, what does success look like for a project like this?
Yeah.
Is it about getting Kifuliiru recognized by, these major tech companies? Or is it about developing, like, cutting-edge language learning software?
Those are definitely important goals.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think success lies in empowering the Kifuliiru-speaking community.
Oh, okay.
It's about ensuring that future generations have the tools and resources to connect with their heritage and to keep their language alive.
That's great.
If young people can learn Kifuliiru on their phones, if they can access, digital dictionaries and other resources, then the language has a real chance of thriving in this digital age.
So it's about more than just like preserving the language.
Right.
It's about giving it a future, making it relevant in the modern world.
Exactly.
That's powerful. But you mentioned earlier that there are challenges, right, in bridging this gap between tradition and technology.
Yes.
So what are some of the specific obstacles that he might face in this endeavor?
Well, one major challenge is the lack of digital resources for lesser-known languages. So while there are plenty of tools for widely spoken languages like English, French, or Spanish.
Yeah.
The same can't be said for languages like Kifuliiru.
Right.
And this means that he may need to create these resources from scratch, which is a monumental task.
That sounds incredibly daunting.
Yeah.
What about funding? Like, is it difficult to secure financial support for a project like this?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Projects focused on language preservation and revitalization often struggle to find funding, especially when the language in question isn't considered commercially viable.
So there are technical challenges, financial hurdles, and even just, the broader issue of getting buy-in from the community.
For sure.
It makes you realize that his work is more than just like a passion project.
Totally.
It's an act of dedication and a commitment to preserving a vital part of his cultural heritage.
It really is.
And it makes me wonder, are there other individuals or organizations out there doing similar work for other lesser-known languages?
That's a great question, and it leads us to a really important point.
Okay.
So while his work is focused on Kifuliiru, it has implications that extend far beyond this one language.
Okay.
What he's doing is a model, a blueprint for how we can use technology to support linguistic diversity around the world.
It's like he's lighting a torch for others to follow, showing that even languages with limited resources can find a place in this digital landscape.
Exactly, yeah.
And it brings up a bigger question, like, what is our collective responsibility to preserve and celebrate the diversity of languages in the world?
That's a great question.
Stick with us as we explore that very question and wrap up our deep dive into this fascinating world of Kifuliiru.
Yeah, it's incredible to think about the ripple effect one person's passion can have.
Cool.
And his work is a testament to, the power of individual initiative, showing that we don't have to wait for like these large institutions or organizations to take action.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about individuals just stepping up and saying, I'm going to make a difference.
Totally. What strikes me is how this connects to a larger conversation about like cultural preservation in the digital age.
Yeah.
It's not just about languages. It's about, music, art, storytelling, all these elements of culture that are at risk of being lost in a world that's, rapidly becoming homogenized.
Yeah.
So his efforts to bring Kifuliiru into this digital realm, it's a reminder.
Yeah, that technology can be a really powerful tool for safeguarding these treasures.
So it's about using technology to amplify, not erase, the richness and diversity of human expression.
Exactly.
But I imagine there's a delicate balance to strike there.
Oh, for sure.
So how do you ensure that the technology serves the needs of the community?
Right.
Rather than like dictating how the culture is preserved.
That is a really crucial point.
Yeah.
It's not about imposing technology on a culture.
Yeah.
It's about working collaboratively with communities to develop tools that are relevant and empowering. Okay. It's about asking, how can technology help you share your stories, your traditions, your language in a way that feels authentic and meaningful?
And that brings us back to the question that you raised earlier.
Yes.
Like, what is our collective responsibility in supporting linguistic diversity?
Right.
What can we as individuals do to contribute to this effort?
Well, it starts with awareness.
Okay.
So like learning about languages like Kifuliiru, appreciating their unique structures and histories is a step towards valuing like the richness of human expression.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that each language holds like this unique perspective on the world.
Yeah.
A way of seeing and understanding that really enriches us all.
Beyond awareness, like what are some concrete actions that we can take?
There are so many ways to get involved. You could support organizations that are dedicated to language revitalization. You could volunteer your time to language documentation projects.
Oh, wow.
Or simply learn a few phrases in a lesser known language.
Oh, nice.
Even small gestures like that can make a huge difference.
It's about expanding our horizons, stepping outside of our linguistic comfort zones, and embracing the beauty of human diversity.
I love that.
And this deep dive has really opened my eyes to the importance of language.
Yeah.
Not just as, a tool for communication, but as a window into culture and history and even our own cognitive processes.
It's pretty remarkable how much we can learn from exploring something as seemingly simple as a counting system.
It is.
And while we've, focused specifically on Kifuliiru, the insights that we've gained, I think, have implications for how we think about language and technology in a much broader sense.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Kifuliiru counting, we leave you with this. The future of language is intertwined with technology.
It really is.
And it's up to us to use this powerful tool responsibly to ensure that technology serves to amplify, not diminish, the incredible diversity of human expression.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey.
Yeah, this was great.